Right. I mean, if you're waking up this morning, perhaps you're thinking, man, I thought the election was over in November. Well, our founding fathers actually made the final part of this election today, January 6th, and that is when Congress certifies the results of the Electoral College. We expect a number of Republicans today to object to states' results. We don't know which states officially yet Republicans will actually object to. We suspect it will be some of the big ones that you hear President Trump talking a lot about, tweeting a lot about. Every time, though, there's an objection and a senator and a representative agrees to it, there's a 2-hour debate. So it's going to be a long day here in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, you set the stage nicely. Outside, it's going to be tense. I can tell you there are already hundreds of Trump supporters walking around the Capitol building, making their way to the White House, where President Trump will hold a rally speech a little bit later today. Meanwhile, all eyes on Vice President Mike Pence. He has to, as President of the Senate, oversee this Electoral College certification vote today. President Trump expects him to do some things that, quite frankly, he can't do according to the law. So it's going to be a dramatic day here in our nation's capital.
Now, the president is claiming that Vice President Pence can actually overturn the vote if he chooses. Can you break down what Pence's role is in the certification? You use the word oversee. Is it just ceremonial?
Yes. If you ask a lot of congressional scholars, they say, look, this is typically a job where a clerk is going to tell Vice President Pence, all right, you read this, you say this. President Trump believes his power is more than that. We're going to find out in a matter of hours what Vice President Pence thinks. It's, again, a very uncomfortable position for him because there's a chance at the end of the day, President Trump, after 4 years, to some degree, throws Vice President Mike Pence under the bus if Pence certifies the results for President-elect Joe Biden. But look, the numbers aren't there to do anything. In order to actually overturn this thing, they would need to have a majority in the House and the Senate. And while President Trump has a number of Republicans on board, he doesn't have enough to change the reality that President-elect Biden is the next president.
All right. The other big story, of course, the results of the Senate runoff race is being tallied in Georgia. At least one Democrat, Reverend Raphael Warnock, has been declared a winner. What's the scenario there moving forward?
Look, this is a big deal, and perhaps it's the biggest deal that's going to impact people waking up in Michigan, waking up in Detroit this morning, and that is the fact that Democrats appear to be on the cusp of taking control of the United States Senate. They'd control the House, they'd control the Senate if these numbers hold up, and they would control the White House, which would mean President-elect Joe Biden would have a lot of power to pass progressive pieces of legislation potentially. The likelihood of more stimulus checks certainly increases exponentially. If you're a conservative, a Trump supporter, a Republican waking up in Michigan this morning, maybe you're throwing your remote at the television right now because you really wanted a check on power. It's not over yet in Georgia. Votes are still being tallied, but if you're a Democrat, you're in a good position this morning.
All right, Joe St. George, live from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for your time and your insight.